would just like to end with a comment on, we were talking about Mars. I think there's a real opportunity for what I prefer to call objective reasoning rather than critical thinking, because I think everybody kind of can say, okay, objective reasoning, and try that one. It's not a matter of if, but when we find life on other planets. I do a lot of radio shows, and I talk about the human question, but mostly what they want me to talk about is the possibility of life on planets and other planets and what the evidence is for that. So I'm very excited because I foresee in my lifetime we're going to find it. It's not a matter of if, but when, and that is just going to throw everybody's entrenched fundamentalist belief systems sky high, and you'll see a lot of backpedaling and a lot of strange argument, and I can hardly wait to see that.
Now, before we get to Phil, shall we slip back and see if the good doctor wishes to speak yet?
Yeah, do I have a few seconds left? Yeah, I'd like to comment on that, because if there was one thing I could do if I was in charge, I would make it a rule that no human being would get near Mars. And the reason is the danger that he's going to contaminate Mars with life. One human gut has more living organisms in it than all the people that have ever lived on Earth. And the risk of contaminating the thing you want to study is just too great to take the risk.
And actually, I was also, maybe Dr. Berret might want to chime in.
Penn really jogged me during today when he made one particular comment, and that is that something that drives me, that is very distressing to me, is that I get a steady stream of emails saying that, how come you don't say this or that about various science-based things? They don't put it quite so nicely. What you put up is unbalanced. The way that people fight me is to say that what I write is unbalanced. Yes, it's unbalanced. I don't write about balanced subjects. You can't write balanced articles about unbalanced subjects. And Penn points out correctly that a tremendous amount of what you see on the talk shows and other places, there's no balance. I don't feel any need to be balanced. I do what you've described, which is I tell the truth as I see it, but I've not articulated it that well, and you put the words in my mouth. I think that that's exactly what I've been trying to do, and I'm very glad to have another way of dealing with the question of unbalance. But it's kind of a clever propaganda trick in that the people who ask this are people who disagree with me. They're not interested in balance. They just want to know, they would like to be expressed through my website. People ask me, why don't you have a bulletin board? Why don't you post what I write? If you have any integrity at all, you'll post this in your cheers and jeers column. I post 1 out of 1,000, but they think they're going to get picked.
Well, apparently you guys have won. It turned off my mic.
Woohoo! My plan has succeeded.
No, it's working. Dr. Plait. Dr. Scott, do you want to go? Dr. Plait. Unless you're full.
Boy, Hal kept jumping around, and so I was going to make jokes about almost everything that everybody was saying here. But I guess I'm stuck. What I want to do is put in a little bit of a plug for honey here. We've been talking about vinegar and honey, and not to make a pun of Bitlakian proportions, but we don't want to make this too black and white. These issues of skepticism and who we're going to talk to and how we're going to talk to them. There is a place for vinegar, and there is a place for honey. I have found in my own dealings that when I'm on the radio, and I've had to debate the woo-woos, I've done this a couple of times, is that if I stay calm and rational and just talk like this, and I'm slow, not necessarily real slow, but if I just speak clearly and don't let it get under my skin and let the lunatic rave and foment and froth at the mouth, even if they are making the more emotional arguments which tend to win in those sort of circumstances. Don't ever kid yourself that getting on Coast to Coast with George Noory is going to be a debate, okay? It's going to be a mudslinging contest. But if you just stay calm, the other person will make themselves look foolish. Those of you who were here last year and may remember I mentioned a woman named Nancy Leader, who is a big Planet X proponent. I debated her on that radio show, and I basically let her rave on and on and on. And then she would just go on. I would wait for her to finish, and then I would just like pick one thing or two things that she said out of literally 100 in as many words that were ridiculous, and just very calmly say, well, that turns out not to be the case, which would be the subtitle of your TV show on Showtime. I learned that's the polite way of saying bullshit is, well, that turns out not to be the case. And actually, to follow up on that too, last night as I was in a conversation with some of the skeptics, I used a word that Penn has used many times today, and I think I really shocked Renata by saying it. She couldn't believe I had said that.
Truth?
Because yeah, that would be it actually. But it was just that people aren't used to hearing me swear because I never do it on the web. I never do it on the radio, of course, or anything like that. But I just tend to be more polite, and I think that in those situations it helps. There is certainly a time for vinegar. Our country was formed around men who stood up and gave speeches full of pepper and vinegar. Some of them, like Thomas Jefferson, for example. Slave owner. And so one of the things about critical thinking too is that you don't want to just say yes or no. There is middle ground. There are times when you can look at both sides of an issue where you can be good and you can be bad. You can be naughty and you can be nice. And I think that we, as Michael was saying today about morality and about that sort of thing, is that there may not be good and evil. People are both good and evil, and we can be both full of honey and full of vinegar, depending on which is better to use.
And we'll skip.
Can I just say one thing to that, which is just, I am not saying in any way that vinegar is the way to go. I agree with everything you said, except when you said you. That is a fine way for you to do whatever you're doing at the time. My only disagreement is with the advice that there is a proper way to sell skepticism. You have to be true to who you are. And someone trying to fake it, someone who has a passion and wants to yell, trying to be gentle, will often come off as condescending, and that's very, very impolite.
Oh, I agree.
So
I'm not
all
trying
I'm saying,
to say that either.
Yeah.
So
all I'm saying is whatever works.
Up here,
whatever you feel like saying and the way you want to say it, you want to tell the truth as you see it. And some of us have personalities that are more aggressive and make people hate us, and we're stuck with them. And I'm only speaking for myself on this one.
And we'll let Mr. Randi have the last word. Penn, if you'd like to say anything else before we go to Mr. Randi.
Well, I just want to say that I talked to some people that were at my house today about perhaps a screening, and if you're interested in that, you should talk to. You all met Emily in the back, and if you talk to Emily, who was at the house today, who kind of produced the event, she might be able to set that up. I'm being cryptic because I'm not able to set this up for every single person in the room.
Very good. Despite Shermer's comments, we're going to have a fist fight out in the lobby immediately after this on old white guys that he obviously feels a certain amount of disdain for. You'll be old soon, Shermer. Yes, and you're a white guy, and you'll be old. And
can us old white girls come on too?
Despite that, I see not a disturbing thing, but an interesting thing, that the Amazing Meeting 2, in this session at least, and in other sessions as well, and maybe in the next couple of days, has brought up religion a great deal more than we've ever had it discussed. I find this a healthy attitude, yeah, just fine, but the James Randi Educational Foundation handles pseudoscience and bullshit, as you probably recognize, much more away from the religious point of view, the reason being that evidence is not offered in religion. It's a matter of blind faith. I believe it because it's in this big book that I got here, and there are lots of them printed, and I found this in a hotel drawer. So it must be so, because they wouldn't put it in the Hilton Hotel drawer if it weren't true. So I just wanted to observe this to you folks. The JREF will tend to look for evidence that can be offered in support of crazy stuff. And since religion doesn't offer any evidence and really says it's so, not that we will avoid it, but we don't go after it that much. We tend to concentrate on the other end. There are other organizations that handle this rather nicely. I won't leave it to them. No, I'll still be in the battle. But we tend to go for pseudoscience and the occult and the supernatural and such more than we do for the religion angle. Final word?